G'day and welcome to the Grow a Small Business Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Truen. Each week, we speak with an owner who has grown a business with 5 to 30 team members to something bigger. Diving into their numbers and unearthing the pain they've experienced, we explore what they did to overcome each barrier and what they would do differently from day one. Let's get into it. Welcome everyone. Today I'm interviewing Hayden Brass from Kunzea, based in Melbourne, Australia. Thanks for your time today, Hayden.
Thanks, Troy. Looking forward to it.
Let's start with how we know each other. So Ben Simpson from The Collective Shift. I had him on episode 164 a few weeks ago, and he suggested you might be a good guest to come on.
Yeah, great. No, I met Ben through EO, so Entrepreneurs Organisation. So we've met there. We've known each other for a couple of years now, and yeah, he's fantastic, doing awesome stuff.
He is, yeah. They're going and growing really well. We actually played some golf when he was down in Tasmania here between Christmas and New Year's. And like yourself, he's a Tasmanian, so you both escaped our little island. I'm surprised you didn't run into each other here in Tasmania growing up.
Always a few mutual friends on Facebook.
Yep. And tell our audience a bit about your business, what it does and how it makes money.
Sure, absolutely. So my business is Kunzea. So it's got family roots in it. It's officially been going for 5.5 years, and it's based in the health and wellness industry. And we use a Tasmanian plant called Kunzea. That's the basis of our business. And we develop health and wellness products around that, from pain relief creams to honeys to other soothing products and oils and that type of thing that people use in their body and sometimes consume. So a range of different products. And we been running for about 5 years and doubling or tripling every year for the last few years, and seeing good growth, and a lot of the families involved as well. My partner, brother and sister, my mum's still involved a little bit as well. Yep. So it's been going really well.
That's great. And how did you start out?
Yeah, so I guess the origin behind it was my family have always been in that sort of doing markets and expos and that sort of stuff. So I traveled around and did like the Launceston show and all that, did a few local markets down there as I was growing up, and they sold all sorts of different things. This was right when I was going through high school, that type of stuff. And there's this one product that they kind of had in their range, which used Kunzea. And I know I always liked it. And this was when I was like in my, 14, 15, 16 sort of age group. And then I know they didn't really do much with it, but it was there and I was sitting there. And I thought, when I finished school, did a couple of years of consulting, that sort of stuff, marketing work, did marketing at uni. I saw the potential of this one product. So I basically kind of took it out of what they were doing, like that sort of family business sort of stuff, and created a new company out of it. So with companies called Australian Kunzea Proprietary Limited, the brand or trading name is called Kunzea. And really used that as our point of difference. So mum and dad were involved, in that early stages. But I've been like kind of driving it over the last 5.5 years.
Yep, right. And where's production based, out of interest?
Yeah, so we get the oil from Tassie. So a lot of it comes from Northeast and Flinders Islands, so Bass Strait Islands as well. We get the actual formulation of the products. It's changed a few times. We started in Tassie. It's now Queensland. Yep. We've got a manufacturer up there because it needs to be a TGA manufacturer for one of our core products. We use about 3 or 4 different contract manufacturers around the country.
Yep.
Our honey, for instance, that comes from a beekeeper we work closely with on Flinders Island.
Oh, fantastic.
Got a good relationship with him.
Yeah, Flinders Island's beautiful here. I haven't heard yet. For the international audience's context, King Island and Flinders Island are islands in between Tasmania, which itself is an island. There's about 500,000 people here in our state. So it's in between Tasmania and Victoria, where Melbourne is, where you're based. 2 beautiful islands there. Mm. Yeah. What year did you start out and how old were you?
Yeah, so 2016. Is that right? Yeah, 2016 was when I started out. 24.
Yep, do the math.
That's when I officially started the company and really went all in on it.
Yeah.
Loved it. So really fell in love with it. Really appreciate being able to help people and have that do a product that's actually can have an impact on people's lives. So it's really like what started something I saw as like an opportunity and something that I could really get my hands into and really enjoy. I've really got a passion for it now and absolutely love the whole industry.
Do you have some key numbers you can share to illustrate the growth of the business?
Yeah, absolutely. So we basically in the first couple of years, we went from like 90,000 to 180, 200,000, and then jumped up to about 500,000 in the third year, hit that 1.2, 1.4 mark in 2019 sort of period. And then in the most recent financial year, hit 3.2.
Whoa, holy shit. Is that mainly driven because of COVID, do you think?
Partly, part of it, absolutely. We definitely saw a growth there because of that. And it's also just we're seeing our products really just kick off and seeing a bit of an increase in our wholesale as well, with getting into a couple of chains. In Tassie, we're in Nature's Works.
Yep.
And then on the mainland of Australia, we're in a pharmacy chain as well. So, yeah.
Just looking it up here, sorry. Are you on the Flora and Fauna website? I had Julie Mathers, the founder, on episode 47.
No, I haven't actually. I've been keen to get on there. It's a great fit for us. I have a lot of respect for that brand.
Yep.
They're a really, really great company.
Yeah, they're doing wonderfully well. Yeah. What about full-time equivalents you started with and where you're at now?
Sure. So it started off with me, really. Mm-hmm. So that was the first few years. Really seen a growth in the staff in the last 2 years. So sitting at around the equivalent to 7 full-time employees across the team.
So I'm guessing then you outsource your warehousing and dispatching to a 3PL. You don't do that internally?
Correct.
Yeah.
And so as much as possible is outsourced. So we work with a lot of agencies where possible. And then 3PL is outsourced. We've moved around a few times. But we've got one we really like now, and then contract manufacturing.
Yeah, great. And so what year in did you decide to flip to 3PL? Because I'm guessing you wouldn't have started day one with 3PL.
Not far off day one, to be honest. I'm because it was one of the first things that I thought we could outsource, because I made a decision early on, even though I was losing a little bit of money in the early days, I kind of saw where the growth was going. So it was actually in the first year, I reckon, I decided, even though the sales were low, because we found a partner that was happy to do no minimums and that sort of thing.
That's very smart, Hayden. You're setting the business up for growth because, as you probably know, the real value is in marketing and innovation, as Drucker said. Everything else is a cost in the business. So you don't want to become a warehousing and dispatch specialist. You don't want to be all things, trying to be jack of all trades. So it's very, very smart to outsource as much as you can and focus on where value generation is.
Absolutely.
When was the moment you felt like you'd succeeded?
Oh, always being harsh on myself there. I feel like in the last 2 years, I'd say, when hitting that, I mean, it's a very, that 1 million dollars figure. It's just a figure, I know, but hitting that sort of milestone was quite a big one. And I felt like, because of the way that we'd seen the growth over those last couple of years, that things were coming together, and now that we've got a bit of a team and being able to support them and their livelihood, in all honesty. So I think the fact that we've been able to maintain that for so long. So I don't know if there's been a one moment that I consider success. I know I'm constantly pushing myself to continue to improve, but like things like the B Corp certification, that sort of stuff, really for me showed that we were going in the right direction and really proving ourselves.
Because Julie from Flora and Fauna, they're a B Corp. We've had quite a few B Corps on, and it is quite an arduous process. You've got to, I think, be going for at least 2 years, or maybe it's 1 year, minimum 80 points out of a maximum 200 before you can be accredited. And so how far in, what year roughly did you decide to go for a B Corp?
Yeah, it was end of 2020. So we decided, I got recommended by a mentor of mine, and I thought we were too early at that stage even, and ended up going through the process. And because we were already embodying a lot of the aspects of B Corp anyway, we actually went through it quite easily, and there was a year we had to wait before we actually got reviewed because of this big backlog, and it's really popular at the moment. But yeah, it was a year ago, and then we only got certified the end of last year, so it's been about 3 months.
Great. And what's your number?
85, 86.
Right. Yeah. Excellent. Yeah. And for the audience that don't know about B Corps, it's not legal structure. It's more of a social and environmental measurement on a business. So you can easily compare businesses, how well they're doing, both, I guess, working with their team, treating their team, customer suppliers, but also the environment and a whole lot of other impacts, not necessarily financial impacts, but, you know, it's a great measurement, I think. What does success look like to you?
Success for me is, I'm still not there. For me, it'd be getting, like, not being in the business and having to be the bottleneck in the business.
Yep.
Still working on that. Still a constant challenge. But I think for me, when I can step back and see the team running it almost on their own, that will be the time when I feel like I've really got to that level that I'm very happy with, and I can step away and go away to Tassie for a couple of weeks and not feel like I have to be on my computer any moment I can. So I think that's what I see as success in the future, and being able to really focus on other things as well. And
have you read The E-Myth by Michael Gerber?
I have.
Yeah.
I have. Great book.
It's a great start. Yeah. Number one thing you'd recommend to marketing a fast-growing business?
Absolutely. Cash flow is huge. Big one. And I'm sure a lot of people mention it, but especially in a product-based business, because you're constantly, all the money coming in goes out to produce more product, especially if you're like doubling or tripling or more, because you're constantly that battle of keeping up with the cash flow. So having the good people in place to help manage that, I felt pretty comfortable with it in the first few years. I felt like I had control of it. I've recently decided I'm going to get a VCFO on, the virtual CFO.
Yep.
So I think we just need that extra eyes looking at it and really making sure that we're on track with everything. So for me, it's this thing that's can make or break your business. If you don't have that cash in the bank to keep things afloat, it puts a lot of extra stress on you and makes you really distracted from the more important things.
Yep. So that's number one thing you'd recommend to marketing, is make sure you've got enough cash to fund the marketing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. Yeah. And how did you fund the business?
Bootstrapped. So bootstrapped all the way through. So we've done it from scratch. My dad actually passed away a month or two after starting the business. So really early on, unexpectedly. And I was very fortunate, could put a little bit of his life insurance into the business, which was a blessing in a terrible time. But that was a little bit of help there, I guess, in the early stage. But apart from that, we've just bootstrapped. I put maybe 50,000 in from my own earnings, and we haven't had to raise anything so far. We've been looking right now. Actually, we're really strongly considering doing a equity crowdfunding. To really scale up. So that's something we're looking at in the next 6 months.
I was about to say, I suggest that because I think you guys would do very well. And as they say in Zoolander, crowdfunding is so hot right now. I thought it was going to go the other way with COVID, but the raises that I've been watching, it's phenomenal. I think, have you heard of Zero Co? Mm-hmm. Yeah, they raised the maximum you can in Australia, $5 million a year from equity crowdfunding in 6 hours.
It's not, it's incredible. Kester Black was another one. I think there's a couple of others that have just skyrocketed.
I had Anna Ross on the podcast from Kester Black. Yeah, before she did the crowdfund, they did well as well. Yeah,
incredible.
So no bank finance, investors, or grants?
Oh, we did actually. Yeah, so we got a grant through the Queensland government actually. So it was Ignite Ideas Fund. So we got a grant through them a couple of years ago. So that was 100,000. So it was actually a really good grant. So that helped a bit with a few different things, and giving that sort of credibility as well, because they could see the value in the business. So that was pretty awesome.
Do you sell outside? Sorry, do you sell outside of Australia?
Predominantly all in Australia. We're starting to dabble overseas, but mostly Australia at this stage.
Have you looked at the EMDG, Export Market Development Grant?
Yeah, something we want to do. It's been on the cards for the last year. COVID's kind of thrown all export sort of situations and out the window, but it's also made it more important to get overseas because shipping from Australia overseas at the moment is a nightmare.
But it's a really generous grant. I looked it up the other day. It's gone up a lot since I looked at 15, 20 years ago. I think you can get 40 grand a year for the first 3 years, and that goes to 80 grand a year, then 150 grand a year. And it's not just product export. If you're exporting services like running courses for students offshore, you can also access that grant. It's a really good one.
Yeah, nice. I definitely need to look into it more. Apart from that, and then just to finish answering your question, I guess I've had a couple of loans here and there through where we've needed to, but we've tried to avoid it where we can.
Yep, great. If you were to start up today with plenty of funding, would you go into your industry?
Yes, absolutely. After the last couple of years, the health and wellness industry has definitely seen a lot of growth and a lot of I think there's still a lot of opportunity out there, and a lot of opportunity, people looking for those smaller brands sometimes. And one of the biggest things that have kind of helped us as well in the last couple of years is people are really pushing for that Australian made, locally sourced. And it's also helped us. We haven't had to source from COVID delays for overseas shipments and that sort of thing haven't really impacted us too much. Yep. So a little bit, but not as much as other companies. So that's been a blessing for a lot of different reasons as well. So I think for us, this industry, keeping to that locally made sort of branding around our story, family business, really tells a good story that works in our industry.
Can you outline the most stressful point in your small business growth journey so our audience can learn from it?
Most stressful point. Well, as I briefly mentioned before, when my dad passed away, that was a very difficult time. That was a very stressful period. Trying to make everything work, starting a new company and having that huge family burden as well happen at the same time. So that was one of them. And I guess because one of our products is TGA listed, we have a lot of things that we have to, which is listed as a medicine in Australia. We have to follow a lot of guidelines and compliance around that. So to get that listing was a lot of upfront fees that we had to do ourselves because we were doing it all internally. So going through that process, making sure we had that phase to kick off a listed medicine like that was a big process. So we had to tick all the right boxes and make sure we can fund it okay.
What area in business do you feel you've had to work on the most to add the greatest value?
Of recent, the biggest part for me is managing staff the last couple of years. So managing, leading staff, getting a team. We're a fully remote team. So we have team members in Tassie, Melbourne, Queensland. So everyone's scattered across the country.
And that was before COVID? You were remote before COVID?
Yeah, we've always been remote. We don't have a physical address really.
Yep.
So we've got staff members everywhere. So learning how to manage team members when I've never really worked in any sort of corporate setting at all. So understanding how they want to work, and also just building that sort of remote sort of culture.
Yep.
And getting people to collaborate together. So for me, that's the biggest thing that I'm constantly still improving on, and has been my focus for the last 12 to 18 months.
What have you enjoyed the least about managing fast growth?
Stock levels for us. Keeping on, everyone says, "Oh, it's a blessing. You're running out of stock is a great problem to have."
Yeah.
Not a great problem to have. It's an absolute nightmare when you're running out of stock of your best-selling products, and not being able to manage. Still learning how to keep up with that growth and understanding what stock needs to be there. So for us, it's been a big part of getting better at that and trying not to run out of stock.
What do you love most about growing a small business?
Having that sort of flexibility, that sort of ability to travel and do that sort of thing. So I can't actually imagine having to go into an office or work with someone anymore. I don't think I could do it. I think get stir crazy.
Yes.
And
I think I went past that point 21 years ago when I started out 22 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's been the biggest mindset shift for you in your small business growth journey?
The biggest mindset shift has been around getting myself out of doing everything. So giving people the autonomy to do their own work in their role. So aspects of it I found quite easy to do. And then there's other aspects like marketing and that type of thing that I found it a lot more difficult to give that control or give that ability to other staff members. So it's that balance between having to, I guess, give people that freedom to do stuff, but also find the right staff to actually have the ability to do that to a level that you require. So I would say, it's been a lot to do with managing those, delegating, and getting stuff off my plate so I can focus on the higher level important things in the business.
What is the number one habit you think a small business owner needs to develop and maintain?
I would say for making decisions fast. It's so easy to get bogged down in the silly little details, and I'm still working through, but making those decisions fast and just deciding on something. Otherwise, we have meetings with our team members and everyone's kind of iffing and butting about different things, and like just making a decision and living with whatever that outcome is. So whatever it turned out to be. So I think, making fast decisions and moving fast so that you don't get stuck in those details.
Can you talk to how you've added people to the team? Find it hard to define a clear strategy, then communicate it and execute it alongside the rest of your team? Or you currently don't work a simple quarterly strategic plan to boost your team's performance? Our Business Growth Formula online course is perfect for small business owners with 5 to 30 team members wanting to grow. We share the mindsets, habits and tools to be a legendary leader in your business. growsmallbusiness.com. Some wins, mistakes and advice for those listening?
Yeah, we've been quite fortunate with our team. So most of our team have come through connections and they've come in at different points. So I think the biggest part for me was really making sure they're a good culture fit and really feeling like they get on with the team. So it's all, you could have the best salesperson in the world, that would be great. And obviously, but if they're having a negative impact on the business, people just don't get along very well. We haven't had that in our team. We've been very fortunate because everyone's got on like a house on fire, like they get on really well. I've had staff members coming in from other like office, they've worked in like an office setting. And even though we're remote, they're like, this is much more inclusive, culture. So I think having that sort of like the staff that are fitting into that sort of, they feel like they're comfortable, they feel like they're part of the team. I think that's a big part of it for sure. Yeah, it's hard. If you let an arsehole onto the team, it can really sully the culture and you've got to be that gatekeeper. So do you think it's been more accidental or very deliberate? You've been able to get, great people on the team? Yeah, I think both. Yeah. A bit of both. So I think we've had obviously team members that a couple that haven't worked out or they've just finished up at whatever time that happened. That's always going to be the case. But my partner is life partner and also general manager of the business. She's a big part of it. So she's obviously very good at picking and understanding the needs of staff and actually building that rapport with them. So I think with the hiring process, it's been really good having that balance and being able to go through that full process. I was even really heavily involved in hiring our customer service reps more recently because even though it's not necessarily one of the managerial roles or whatever it might be, they're the direct relationship with all of our customers. So I saw it as like a critical role for me to be at least involved in the hiring process to make sure that they seem like a right fit for how they're communicating with our customers on a day-to-day basis. I view customer service as part of marketing because that experience that customers have feeds into word of mouth, whether it's good or bad.
So I think it's critical that you, if you're in charge of marketing, that you make sure that you've got a say in who's on the customer service team.
Yeah, absolutely.
What are some things you recommend to building a sustainable and kick-ass culture to help with the growth?
The biggest thing that's been a benefit for our team, we haven't done one recently because of COVID, but having these retreats when people get together. I know the second one we did as a team, and it was starting to we had 5 or 6 on the team, not all full time, but 5 or 6 on the team at that stage. And it really, I didn't even realize it at the time, but it really had an impact on a couple of staff members' positioning in the business. They were feeling a bit down, COVID stuff or whatever it might have been. They just weren't quite feeling quite right. And then they came to this, heard about our vision, our core values, all that sort of thing, got a refresh, and just absolutely kickstarted the year like on fire. So it was a really good way, especially as a remote team, having them at least once or twice a year, if not more, when we can, has been a big part of keeping the flame alive and keeping people on top of it. We like doing activities where we can and trying to catch up and have that sort of having that sort of experience where we can to just to get to know each other as well.
Yeah, that's good. Very important. Tell our audience how you've handled balance.
Well, there wasn't much of it for the first few years, but at that stage, or the first couple of years, but at that stage I didn't have a 1-year-old, so that's changed in the last year. So I would say 2 years ago, I would have, my son was born on the 18th of December 2020.
Yep.
15th 15th of December. So if he'd been born a year earlier, I wouldn't have had the capacity to step out of the business as much as I was able to, but I was really able to have 2 or 3 weeks off and really be there, which is incredible. But yeah, over the last year, last 2 years, I really changed my tune around it and really try to make an effort to be there and like really kind of have time off, stop at a reasonable time, or have some time off on the weekends. Like having that trip down to Tassie for a couple of weeks, even though it was COVID impacted, it was a really good opportunity to spend that family time together. So yeah, I think since having a kid, it's really put things into perspective and made it more important to make time and remember the important things in your life.
Yeah, family or kids can really sharpen your focus around that, can't they? It certainly happened for me as well.
Yeah.
How much professional development have you invested in yourself?
Yeah, quite a lot. I've done a couple of different, I try and listen to podcasts, read, that type of thing quite frequently. It's always a big thing for me. I'm part of EO, so where I met Ben, so Entrepreneurs Organisation. That's been awesome over the last year. Before that, I'd done a couple of different programs in Melbourne. There was, what was it, the young entrepreneurs, that sort of thing. So I've done try to get involved in a lot of those different things. I don't think I overkill it. I try and keep it balanced, because if you don't actually do anything with the things you're learning, there's no point in doing too much. But I constantly trying to improve myself, and it's a big thing for me. Have you had mentors or coaches along the way? Yeah, for sure. So I had a few along the journey. None of they just had different periods in our business. So they've either been through a program, and that's been really important. And I don't know, just trying to find the right ones for where we are at that stage in our business has been really important for me. And I think even just in some ways, like a podcast can be your mentor as well. They can give you a lot of the same sort of advice and that type of thing. Just having that sort of ideas in your ears and getting that understanding. So for me, I've found ones that are suitable for me at different stages. And at the moment, the thing that I'm considering, haven't done it yet. I've never had a business coach, but it's something that I'm strongly considering as another avenue of getting that sort of like hands-on accountability and involvement in the business and getting that experience from someone who's done it before.
Yeah, great. Yeah, and that holding you to account, especially because it's lonely at the top, is also very valuable.
Absolutely.
I guess on that, do you have a board of directors or advisors?
No, we don't actually. So it's just something we've contemplated at different points, but we've got a leadership team within the organisation that makes decisions together. But that is the limit to it at this stage. Yeah.
All right, Hayden, one of our final 5 questions. What do you think is the hardest thing in growing a small business?
Cash flow. Stick with that one. Absolutely. For me anyway, for our business, cash flow is the thing that can make or break a business.
Yep. Favorite business book which has helped you the most?
Actually, what you said before, E-Myth, was awesome. I really liked it. And I think the other one would be, a classic one would be the 4-Hour Work Week. It kind of got me onto this sort of thing very early.
That's a great book. Yeah. Any great podcasts or online learning tools you use for your own professional development?
I like. Well, I do occasionally like different courses, like founder courses, that Founder Mag, that sort of thing. So
Nathan Chan, yep.
Yeah. And I said EO before, so that's a great one for that type of thing. And a bunch of different like marketing podcasts and that sort of thing that kind of just give me a boost for different ideas and getting understandings from other businesses. So nothing that stands out, but just different ones that I go to if I need a certain thing as well. So if I need help on like culture or whatever thing, I'll look for a podcast that I think is a good fit and then go through a few and try and get a few learnings from that.
Have you listened to Small Business Big Marketing by Tim?
Yeah, it's a good one. Yeah,
that is a good one.
Very
One
good.
tool you'd recommend to help grow a small business?
I'd say Slack's actually been great, to be honest, for our team. So it's a way for us, because we're fully remote, it's the way for people to communicate, like a bit like as if they're in an office having that sort of chatter, so conversation. So it's been good to just have that sort of way for people to communicate.
Finally, my favorite question. What would you tell yourself on day one of starting out?
Day one of starting out. Focus on more important things than like getting a social media post right. Focus on bigger things, in more important parts of the business than like the little things that in retrospect seem like definitely a waste of my time at that stage. But I guess that's all retrospect talking. I'll be saying the same thing in 5 years' time, no doubt. So it's hard to say. It's been a journey, but I wouldn't be here where I am now without gone through it. So I would say, just focus on trying the bigger things, the bigger fish rather than the small things.
Well, thanks for your time today, Hayden. I think the audience get a lot of value out of what you shared with us today. Terrific journey. 1 FTE, starting out as yourself, around 7 now, and you've cracked the $3 million mark in 5.5 years. So that is wonderful growth. Congratulations to you and the team.
Thanks, Troy. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate your time having me on.
That's it. Thanks for listening. Please leave a review in iTunes or whatever platform you listen to us on. It means more small business owners will find our cast and help people with their business growth journey.